My name is Robert Chen, and I've been driving city buses for 15 years, night routes mostly. You see all sorts of things working the graveyard shift in Chicago: drunks, fights, lost souls. But what happened on Route 43 last winter wasn't anything I was trained for. It was my usual route, the 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. shift. Route 43 runs through some rough neighborhoods before heading into the suburbs. By 3 a.m., the bus is usually empty, except for maybe a few late shift workers or partygoers. That night was different. The temperature had dropped below zero, and a light snow was falling. At the downtown stop, a young man got on. He looked about 20, wearing a red coat, no hat or gloves despite the cold. He swiped his transit card and sat right behind me. Nothing weird about that, except his card didn't make the usual beeping sound. I checked the reader. It showed no payment recorded, but I was sure I'd seen the green light flash. I figured the machine was acting up because of the cold. At the next stop, an elderly man got on. Same thing, I saw him swipe his card, saw the green light, but no beep, no record. He sat across from the guy in red. Neither of them spoke or looked at each other. This pattern kept repeating. People would get on, swipe their cards silently, and sit perfectly still. By the time we reached Harrison Street, I had 12 passengers. None of them were talking. None of them were looking at phones. They just sat there staring straight ahead. I tried making conversation, asking the guy behind me if he wanted the heat turned up. He didn't respond. In my mirror, I could see his face. He looked scared, like he was trying not to cry. That's when I noticed something in the mirror. All my passengers were wearing the same style of clothes from different decades. The guy's red coat looked new. The old man's suit looked like something from the 70s. Another man was wearing a suit straight out of the 50s. At the next stop, I heard someone running for the bus. I almost didn't stop. It was against policy to pick up between designated stops. But something made me hit the brakes. A teenage boy jumped on, panting. He was wearing a Letterman jacket from my old high school, the school that burned down in 1989. He looked right at me, his face pale. "Don't stop at Oakwood," he said. "Whatever you do, don't stop at Oakwood Cemetery." I felt my blood run cold. Oakwood wasn't a stop on Route 43. It hadn't been since the accident in '86, when a bus full of passengers skidded on ice and went through the cemetery gates. Everyone died. I'd seen the memorial. The boy sat down, and that's when I noticed everyone was watching me in the mirror. Their reflections were wrong somehow. Older, sadder. The guy in red had frost in his hair now. The old man's suit was wet and muddy. My radio crackled. Dispatch never calls this late, but I heard a voice through the static. "Bus 43, you're behind schedule. Proceed to final stop." I knew something was terribly wrong. I checked my route display. It had changed. Instead of showing Downtown Express, it now read Oakwood Final Stop. The bus started accelerating. I hadn't touched the gas. The brakes weren't responding. Through the windshield, I could see we were heading toward the old cemetery route. The passengers started humming softly, an old hymn my grandmother used to sing. I yanked the emergency brake. The bus screeched to a halt, skidding on the icy road. When I looked back, all the seats were empty. No passengers, no watermarks, nothing. But in the mirror, I could still see them. 12 faces staring at me, their eyes now dark and hollow. I quit that night. Filed a report that no one believed. But here's the thing. I looked up the accident from '86. They never found all the bodies. The article mentioned 12 missing passengers. And the photos. God, the photos. That guy in the red coat, the old man, the boy in the Letterman jacket. They were all there, listed among the dead. Last week, I drove past my old route. A different bus was running the night shift on Route 43. As it passed me, I looked at the driver, a young guy, probably new to the job. Behind him sat a man in a red coat. He turned and looked right at me. In my rearview mirror, the bus's display read, Oakwood Final Stop. I tried to warn the transit authority. They said Route 43 doesn't run at night anymore. Hasn't since that winter. But every night at 3 a.m., if you wait at the downtown stop, you might see a bus pull up. My advice? Check the display before you get on, and if you see Oakwood listed as the final stop, let it pass. Those passengers aren't looking for a ride home. They're looking for company. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and subscribe for more real urban horror stories. Share your own late-night public transit experiences in the comments below. But maybe think twice before catching that last bus home.